Sri Akal, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Kaspa Unchained. And today with us we have Monica, who is the Director of Communications at Kaspa Foundation. And she's living in the great weather of Netherlands with a beautiful cat and her husband. And thank you for your time, Monica. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me here.
It's an honor. Shai has been saying great things about you. So has I'm sure everyone is very happy with you being there. Thank you for giving your valuable time to us.
Thank you.
How has your day been treating you?
It's a fine day. It does not rain, so it's already an improvement on the weather front, although it's a bit cloudy. However, I try not to let the weather ruin my mood.
So, Monica, a bit about yourself. Can you start by telling us a bit about your career journey and what led you to your current role in communication and branding?
Yes, so my journey is quite an interesting one. So I started in university with a very general degree. I studied sociology, anthropology, a minor in history, and a minor in politics. And while being at university, I started the debate club. So I joined it as a debater. I became quite good at it. Ultimately, I became fourth in Europe and sixth in the world. And after discovering that my passion is really in communicating and being on stages, I started developing myself in the world of competitive debating. I became an adjudicator. I was a chief adjudicator for the European University Championship in 2020. And then I started coaching. And I'm very proud to say that as a coach, I did an even better job than as a debater. And I was able to coach world champions in debating. So that gave me a lot of fulfillment. And after doing that for a while, I started seeing that there is a real need for communication skills that goes beyond debating, and that people just need to have the right tools to say what's on their mind. And oftentimes, what they think or what they intend is not what comes across. And in order to try and bridge that gap, I founded my own business in which I took all the tools that debating has given me and I translated them into either presentation consulting, which would mean taking a person that has to present or give a lecture and walking them from A to Z, from the stage of ideation to ultimately delivering it on stage, and also giving workshops in organizations, helping them to improve their communications, their team building, the way they conduct meetings, and so on. And I did this, and it was fascinating. And I met a lot of people throughout various industries. So it was in academia, it was in high tech, it was in traditional businesses. And when I was thinking about immigrating here to the Netherlands, I suddenly got a call from my boss in KEF asking if I'm looking for a new challenge and a new job. And he presented me with this idea of taking my skills as a communicator and bringing it to the crypto world. And I found it to be a fascinating challenge because I knew, I wouldn't say nothing because I had the general knowledge of people reading newspapers about crypto world, but I didn't have in-depth knowledge. And for me, it was really opening the door to a fascinating new world, learning about it, and also facing new and interesting communication challenges. So I'm very happy that I took this chance.
That is an awesome answer, Monica. Thank you for that. How do you describe your approach to communication and branding in just a few words? If you could summarize it for us, please.
Yes, so I think there are several core values that are very important. The first one being honesty. I think that whether it is something bad or something good, the truth always wins. And if you have a message that is good, you don't need to exaggerate it. It can be good enough just by being realistic. Same goes to delivering a news that is unfortunate. It's better to be honest and simply use more words to explain the rationale behind it, to explain your intentions, and to make sure that you're on the same page with the person you are talking to. And I think a second value that is really important is to put clarity in the first priority. I think oftentimes people feel that they need to be cool or they need to use jargon or to sound clever. And oftentimes this comes at the expense of being clear. And I think the most important thing is to speak in such a way that everyone can understand and that you can have a common language with people.
So, being truthful and also being very honest about your opinions and trying to be very simplistic in your approach to communicate what you really want to say. That summarizes it perfectly. And let's talk about your roles and responsibilities as the director of communication and what excites you the most about this role.
So, in terms of my responsibilities, I think there are two main branches of communication. The first one being internal communication, which is to try and make sure that everyone in the Caspa ecosystem can communicate without friction and to bridge across a lot of cultural gaps. Because the wonderful thing about the Caspa community is that it is really international. There are people from all over the world, and everyone shares the same goal of trying to make sure that Caspa does well. But I think coming from different backgrounds, oftentimes we have different styles of communication, and this can create misunderstandings if we are not aware of it. My role is to make sure that everyone understands and that we are also able to make better decisions together and cooperate. So if we have developers from different places, to make sure that they can talk to each other and explain what they understand, what they don't understand. If we're trying to get partners to join us, to make sure that they see the value that is in Caspa. So a lot of this. And then the second branch is external communication, which is something that I'm more growing into since I only started 3 months ago. This entails everything that has to do with presenting what is CAST, what it does, what is uh, making announcements about various moves that we're trying to promote in order to make sure that CASPA is doing well, to be very clear about what CAF does, how it spends its money. So, for example, we are going very soon an annual report about our marketing for 2024. And this is a tradition that we are going to start and we're going to publish this yearly, make sure that the community knows what we're doing, and also to give the community the ability to give their honest feedback. And we want to hear from people in order for us to do better as well. So my role is also to be that contact person. And I think it's a very good opportunity to say if there are viewers listening to this that want to bring their message to KEF, then they can always talk to me and I will always gladly listen.
That is so wonderful. One thing I would like to add is in the Caspa's ecosystem, one thing that I've really analyzed is the kind of engagement that the community has. The organic engagement is really awesome. I don't see that uh, nowadays in any other project, and especially wonderful personalities like Chad, Michael, Shai, and yourself. I see you guys bring a lot of trust to the community where like if you have good people backing your project and representing your true values, I think it really brings good engagement. especially in the community. So, great work at Caspa and great work at the foundation. Let's talk a bit about your key responsibilities and maybe your future plans and where do you see the foundation heading in the coming years.
So I guess I'll start with the foundation. So KEF was founded because it saw tremendous potential in Caspa. I think they recognized that Caspa is the real deal in the sense that it can really fulfill all the goals that one would expect from money or from a currency. And I think the way to look at it is that Caspa allows real-life application simply by the fact that it can be used both to buy in a supermarket, but also to run very complex DeFi schemes on it. And I think after having seen this potential, then the foundation said, okay, we want to make sure that this project does well, that it's not just something that rises, but ultimately that Kaspa is among the top 5 currencies. And then the goal is to do whatever the foundation can in order to support and promote Kaspa. And this means both efforts in terms of marketing, so things like going to conventions, making sure that we are on the map of the crypto world. But this also means supporting the technological front, so giving grants to developers, making sure that there are good partnerships, pushing for listing of Caspa on exchanges, and a lot of work around that. And I think the way that we see the future is that now Caspa is no longer in its infancy, and it has shown that it can stand the bear market. And now it's about being in the big league. So now it's about really pushing on the technology, making sure that we are still in line for having the best solutions that don't sacrifice security and that really allow the application of Casper in the real world. So I think that is going to be a main focus. And we're still going to continue with conventions, but probably more from a community perspective. So 2024 was a year where we had the Casper World Tour, which included really going all over the world and making sure that everyone knows who Caspa is. And now I think people know. So now it is more about allowing both the communities to grow. So giving tools for ambassadors, but then also spreading clearer messages about Caspa.
Awesome. And what strategies have you found most effective in improving communication and decision making in a decentralized environment like Caspa?
Yeah. So, first of all, I really believe in human connection. I think it's very important to meet people and not just to message, but to actually take the time and know the person and to create really a sense of empathy. Because I think it's very important to always assume good intentions, and then it allows you to overcome whatever misunderstanding can happen. So I think this is something that is very important for me. And when I entered my role, the first thing that I did was start setting up meetings with people just to get to know the developers, the marketing people, the foundation people, and to get everyone to know that, okay, now we're going to have a line of communication that is better. So I think this is something that is really important. And another thing that is very important is to try and clarify messages and to make sure that we are not just speaking in slogans, but to really paint a picture and make sure that the listener has the ability to connect Caspa to outcomes and to understand the causal link between the adoption of Caspa and really gaining all of the wonderful benefits that a lot of other projects promise as well, but they don't necessarily deliver on.
Absolutely. That's a perfect answer, I would say, Monica. Thank you for that. Um, let's talk about the impact. What kind of impact do you hope Caspa's brand will have on the broader perspective of industries or communities? How do you see it will impact more on the broader horizon?
Yep. So, first of all, I hope that Caspa does well and is adopted by more and more people who understand that it is a good thing. And here I think that the messaging surrounding that are, first of all, about the value of proof of work, which is still quite a debate within the crypto community.
It's technically underplayed, let's say, because most of the blockchains have transformed themselves into proof of stake. So proof of work is like right behind the line. But I would say in the blockchain ecosystem, proof of work is definitely the right way to conduct a decentralized system and more trusted. And especially a system like Casper, where technology is built in such a way that consumes more transactions in a much faster way. So definitely it can have much more broader impacts. Yeah, please continue.
Yes. So I really hope that this message comes across because I think it's an important one, not just for Caspa, but I think for the crypto world in general. And also to bring the message of the superiority of technology and make sure that people don't give up on the attempts to try and solve difficult problems in crypto that can be solved. It's just a matter of researching it well.
Absolutely. And what role does storytelling play in your communication strategy, Monica?
So it plays a significant role. I would say that generally people are influenced by stories. And this is something that motivates people. This is something that excites people, that moves them both emotionally and in terms of the actions that they take. And I think specifically when we're using storytelling in communication, it's very important that we find the story that matches our audience. So that taps into what they want and to really show them how the narrative that they want to be a part of can be achieved if they join the community, if they learn more about Caspa. But also, I would say that stories have to change according to reality and the changes that we see in it. So, Caspa, in that sense, is a very interesting example because it started as this wonder kid in the crypto world, doing extremely well when everyone else didn't. And now we are at a different stage of the story. So now we've had the hero break out, but it's not over, right? And we can't use the same story because now we are more mature. Now we have more to offer. And now the rivals are different and they're bigger. And now we have to make sure that we win the battle against them. So I think this would create new stories.
Absolutely. And how do you keep up with the rapidly changing communication trends?
So here I'm going to say that I think trends mostly have to do with the medium, but the principles of good communication are timeless. I think that communicating well is something that ultimately would be the same 50 years ago, but also 50 years from now.
Absolutely. The mediums might change, but I think humans, if they interact, they basically interact in the similar manner that they used to, which makes sense. Absolutely. And how do you ensure internal communication aligns with external messaging? How what kind of protocol do you follow?
Yeah. So first of all, being very open to feedback and criticism. So making sure that we constantly listen to each other and that we adopt a culture of not being afraid to speak your mind, just knowing that we all want the same thing. And based on that, not taking offense at someone saying, well, this is not exactly what I meant. Or can you make sure that when you phrase this, you use this phrasing and not another phrasing? So I think that's really important to have. And also, I would say that transparency is something that is really important because it makes sure that whatever we say internally is ultimately reflected when we speak to other people externally. And I'm very proud that Caspa really embodies this spirit. And we even see this with the core deb, that they've opened up their Telegram channels and that they are doing their best to constantly communicate to others what they're doing, why they are doing that.
Absolutely. Um, let's talk about your journey, Monica. Can you tell us about your journey within the Caspa ecosystem and what key experiences have shaped your path so far?
So I'm very new to this journey. And yet, on the one hand, I feel like I've started yesterday. And on the other hand, I feel like I've been here forever. So first of all, I was extremely happy to join this community. I didn't even know how positive and wholesome it is. And I was very excited to see this. So, to see this among the people who are a part of the community, the people making Caspa, that I think are really great and really great human beings. So, not just geniuses and people I respect, but also people I enjoy interacting with. And also, I had a great time meeting people not only online. So I was very lucky to attend the OzCon, Oz CryptoCon. Uh, English is difficult. In Sydney. And I was able to meet a lot of the people that make Caspa great and a lot of enthusiastic community members. So that was really an experience to remember. Also, I was very lucky to be able to meet many of the people that I work with in person when I attended the Oz CryptoCon in Sydney by the end of November. And it was really a wonderful experience because I really got to interact with people on a deeper level and to see the community and to celebrate with the community because it was also Caspa's third birthday.
Awesome. And how has your previous experiences or like past experience shaped the way you approach communication and collaboration at KEF?
So I think there are several factors that are things I bring with me, which have helped me a lot. So, first of all, I know several languages, which I think really helps. So I know, of course, English. I know Hebrew, being Israeli originally. I know Russian. I'm learning Dutch, and I also know a bit of German and a bit of Arabic. So I think it really helps, especially when communicating across cultures. But also, debate has given me wonderful tools for communication that I always try to use. So it is being eloquent, being able to logically construct an argument, being able to understand what we are talking about, and if there is a disagreement, what exactly is the disagreement, and what are the key questions that we need to answer in order to move forward. And also, in a way that often surprises people, the ability to listen. Because in debating, you have to listen to the other side to know how to respond to them. And I find that this is crucial for communication to start first by listening to the other side, understanding what they want, and only then formulating a response.
That is an awesome thing to say, Monica. Let, um, let's talk about your advice if you would like to give someone who's starting a similar journey in the crypto space, particularly in communication or community building roles, what advice would you give to someone?
So I guess I would tap into what I just said in terms of listening. I think it's very important for people to listen and to learn. And only once they feel that they are familiar with this new field that they are entering, then they should start communicating and then they should start thinking about questions like building a brand and what does the audience want. But to really start from a very modest and very humble place. And also, I would say to enter fields where they believe in the product or they believe in what it is that they want to say. Because I think that when people are inauthentic, it comes across. And it's really hard to communicate on behalf of something that you don't see a value in. So I would say find something that you are passionate about. Find a project that you think is good, and then you will be able to communicate for that.
Let's take this listening part a bit more forward. As you take on more external communication responsibilities, as I'm sure, how do you craft messages and communication strategies to raise awareness about CASPA or KEF? Because your communication really matters. Even if you listen everything properly, how do you draft what to say? Because anything that you say, because you are in that ecosystem where whatever you say can fluctuate the price of an actual financial asset. So um, how do you draft and how do you craft the messages and communication strategies?
So, this is an excellent question. And my answer would be that after you are done with listening, one of the things that I like doing is to start asking difficult questions in the sense of forcing us to understand the why and the hows of things. For example, we say Caspa is the best coin for the real world applications. Try and break it down. What does that mean? Why do we think that way? Why specifically Caspa and why not any other project? And the moment you start breaking down the message with those sometimes pesky questions of why, like 5-year-old kids, then you are able to build a story and to give an explanation that can actually persuade someone and not just sound as if you are trying to sell something that no one really knows what it is. So I think this is a crucial step in doing that. And also, I would say to build a common language and to make sure that when we use a term, it is very clear what we mean by this term. Because oftentimes it can be the case where I say something and I have a set of connotation attached to that and a very specific meaning, but it's not necessarily the meaning that someone else has for that term. So I would say also break down terms and explain in more words what you mean. And I think using more words is not a downside. Oftentimes people think that, oh, I need to say as much with as little words as possible. And my answer would be no, use more words, be clearer. And if your message is true and good, people will listen to it, even if it's a bit longer.
Definitely makes sense, Monica. Let's talk a bit more about your personal life, Monica. Beyond your impressive career, what's something most people don't know about you?
So I'm a real geek. I like learning things and trivia. And when I was in Israel, I participated in a game show called The Chase. So ultimately, I didn't win the big prize, but it was loads of fun. And yeah, I guess I'm the kind of person that knows random facts about things.
That is really awesome to know. And let's talk about your influence. Who has been the most influential person or role model in your life, and how have they shaped you to who you are today?
So I think I had quite a lot of influential figures, and I was very lucky that I had a lot of people that helped me in my journey. But I guess I would like to mention in particular my debate coach, Anat Shapira. And the reason I want to mention her is because I feel that she believed in me from day one. She saw that I have potential in this game and in this field, and she really encouraged me to continue and to do well. And she was always very supportive of what I did, and also a personal inspiration, uh, being someone who is very communicable, someone who is just brilliant and has a way with words. And that really showed me that it's possible and that it's possible to make a career by communicating.
I think it boils down to that one person who just supported you when you really needed them the most. And that basically shapes the entire um, character that is built. It basically creates the foundation. Is there any personal achievement, Monica, that you would say aside from your career that you're particularly very proud of?
Mm, so I think it's somewhat career related, although it's more of a pro bono thing. So I helped an activist write a book about ways of uh, consuming media in a critical way and discovering fake news, but also being aware of media manipulation that often can happen through use of manipulative language. So this is, I guess, the intersection of me bringing my skills to something that I find to have real life value. And I think it's really important to give people the knowledge and the tools and not safeguard them. So to make sure that everyone has access to logical thinking, to good communication, and so on.
Let's talk a bit about philosophy. Do you have any life lessons that you've learned along the way that you try to live by, whether in your career or personal life, that you would like to share?
Yeah. So I think there are two major ones that come on top of my head. The first one is not being a cynic. I think it's very important to allow yourself to fully feel and express your feelings without the need to hide them. So, if you're passionate about something, be passionate about it. Go with it. Don't worry about what others might have to say. Or if you are sad, it's okay to be sad about things. You don't need to constantly portray that everything is okay. So I think this is something that really helps me when communicating with people in my personal life, and something that I want to spread on. And the second thing is to understand that oftentimes reality and truth is more complicated than it may seem. And oftentimes we get, especially in media and in social media, these sensational portrayals of things or very simplistic descriptions of things. And I find that oftentimes there is much more of a gray area. There is much more of a nuance. People operate in very complicated way. And we shouldn't give in to the automatic desire to say, okay, I understand this fully, and these are the goodies, these are the baddies, but really to try and see that things tend to be complicated and we need to learn more in order to understand the full picture.
That is really a very honest, a very simple answer, Monica. Thank you for that. On that note, through this conversation, I would say, if I summarize the conversation, I would say, Monica, communication and branding is similar to living the life, right? the better you are at breaking down things, the better you are at simplifying things, the better you live. And on that note, we should end this. And a great conversation with you, Monica. Finally, for our listeners who are looking to break into the world of communication and branding, what's the last piece of advice that you would like to give to those who are wanting to make an impact in this ever evolving field?
So, first of all, go and learn how to communicate. And it doesn't necessarily mean learning through books or academia, but really practice it. So, I would advise to anyone who can to join things like debate clubs or different activities that force you to practice communication and that allow you to get feedback for it and improve by doing that. So, I think this is the first step. And the second step is find your niche, find the thing that you are passionate about spreading its message, and then build slowly from there. So don't automatically jump into this has to be my career, but start small. Start with can I help with this initiative? Can I talk to this and this person? And grow yourself into that field until you are someone who is trusted enough to gain more opportunities.
One personal question that I would like to ask you, Monica. Since you know a lot of languages, what's your process of learning a new language? You told that you are currently in process of learning Dutch. How do you start consuming the new characters, the new nuances? What's your process of learning a new language, and how do you like? What do you advise to people who want to explore new languages? What's the process that you have found to be the most effective?
So, with Dutch, I actually started with Duolingo. And I know that for many people it doesn't work, but I guess I have tips on how to make it work more. So, first of all, persevere. But the second is that Duolingo doesn't necessarily teach you the rules. So, what I did is I would supplement the grammar. So, whenever I encountered something that is a new grammatical issue, I would go onto YouTube and I would start watching videos on that issue. And then I would go back to practicing with the understanding that I gained. So, it was this that helped me really master basic vocabulary. And then there is also the idea of immersion. So to try and expose yourself to as much content in that language. So try to see if you can find TV shows in that language. Try to see if you can find books that are easy to read, but that you might find interesting. And also try to find people that you can practice with. So if you know people from that place, then that's amazing. And I would also say try to use both the language as a window to learn about the culture and the culture as a way of looking at the language. So I think those two things are inseparable. And the moment you understand more about the culture, you are able to learn the language better.
That is awesome, Monica. Thank you so much for your time. It was a great conversation with you. And we'll hopefully have you again with us soon. Uh,
Thank you.
it was a great conversation. I'm sure people would take a lot of notes through this podcast. And through this, I'm sure everyone gets to know the kind of person you are, and especially the kind of people who are backing the Kaspa Ecosystem Foundation. I think everyone should have a deeper look, a deeper understanding about the foundation, because it's a company is what the people who are representing it, right? So if the people are good, so definitely the project is the best. So on that note, thank you, Monica.
Thank you so
Have a
much for
nice day.
having me.